It is one of the great miracles of modern medicine, the saving of a dying patient with a transplanted body part. But there is a worldwide shortage of organs and a surplus of poor people who believe that the solution to their suffering is not to receive an organ, but to sell one. Joe Boy, a 44-year-old husband and father, yearns to lift his family from abject poverty. He's decided to sell one of his kidneys. His home is a crawl space under someone else's shack. It's too small to stand up in, and there's no electricity.
Ang unang-una kong gagawin, kaya ko dinisisyonan ng labag sa batas at labag sa Panginoon ang gagawin ko. Itong bahay ko kailangan mabago man lang to. Ito lang, ayan lang ang tagi kong inaano para sa kumbaga malalaki na yung mga anak ko, binata na yung dalawa kong lalaki para naman masilayan din nila yung bahay na maluwag tulugan at nakakatayo pag nandito sa loob ng bahay. Yun lang po mamang hinahangad ko sa ano na yun.
In the Philippines, like almost everywhere else on Earth, selling a part of your body is illegal. The result is a flourishing black market run by backstreet brokers like Diane. Like most brokers, Diane sold one of her own kidneys and served as the agent for a dozen members of her extended family when they sold theirs.
Ay si Edwin, si Lorenzo, An-An, si Lidonio, Judy Leto. Panganay ko si Jose Leto, yan si Yap.
Diane has offered Joe Boy $2,500, double what he'd earned from unskilled labor in a year.
Ngayon, may grupo kami nga nakahanda na mag-donate. 6 yan po sila. Type A, Type B, Type O, EB.
All they need now is someone who is desperately ill. Every year, all over the world, thousands of people like Joe Boy make the same decision. 50 years ago, it wasn't possible to take one kidney from another to save a life. Now, it's almost routine. We are born with 2. With proper care, we can live and thrive with 1. But the demand for this organ far exceeds the supply. So many desperate patients turn to the black market where, in some countries, you can pick up a kidney for the price of a laptop.
I was diagnosed at 21 that I had kidney failure.
Generally, when this happens, it happens when you're older.
Of course, you go into denial and you think, no way, this can't be happening to me.
I'm just trying to live the life I think I would have lived if this didn't happen.
Mary Jo has been waiting for a kidney transplant for 6 years. She's kept alive on dialysis.
Dialysis, what it does is, I mean, it cleans your blood, but it's not just taking out the toxins, it's taking out everything. So anything good that's in your body as well comes out at the same time. So, you know, you're wiped out. When you get off, you're completely wiped out. So it takes its toll. Sorry, hon, I locked it.
Oh, it's okay.
I've got stuff happening all the time. I've got a 3-year-old kid who's got special needs. I've got a husband, I've got a house, I've got a career. If I want to do the things I've always wanted to do, I still want to travel, I want to live my life. So this is my dialysis machine. Doing dialysis is a very traumatizing experience for anybody. It took me, I'd say, at least a good year to really get used to sticking sharp needles in my arm. And you have to do dialysis every other day. It just changes you. It changes the way you look at things. It changes your way of life, your perspective on things, and how you would do things normally. This one hurts. You can't stay on this machine forever. It doesn't do what a kidney does. Some days I think, God, how much longer am I gonna have to do this? I would love to have a living donor, if that was possible. This is it, unless somebody offers me a kidney or unless a cadaver becomes available. This is what keeps me alive.
There's no point in having a bad attitude. You put up with what you have to put up with, and there's no point in complaining about it. It's a matter of just what you have to deal with. I'm effectively between a rock and a hard place. If I can get a transplant in the next year or two, I will probably live another 20, 25 years. If I don't manage to maintain my health long enough to get a transplant, and they take me off the transplant list, I'll be dead in 8 years, probably. It's not living, it's existing.
So, Walter, how long have you been on the transplant list already?
Almost 2 years.
Wow.
What do I have? Probably 2 or 3 years before I probably had problems.
Currently, people that were put on the transplant list that at the time you were, they're waiting anywhere from 4 to 5 years for a kidney to become available unless they have a living donor.
Right.
Patients who are on dialysis have an increased mortality, and that mortality hasn't changed in the last 15, 20 years. As a doctor, if you're in a clinic of 100 people that you're treating, 20 of those people are going to die each year.
I effectively have to decide at this point whether, if I can't find a donor in this country fairly soon, I have to decide whether I'm willing to take on my soul the ethical burden of purchasing a kidney from somebody or choose to die. And that is really the choice I'm facing.
Waiting for him to get to the top of the list of transplant, cadaver transplants just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And, a foreign situation obviously would not be our first choice, but at this point it looks like it may be our only choice.
In Toronto, Raoul Fain already made the choice that Walter is considering. He mortgaged his house, went overseas, and paid $100,000 for a kidney.
Where was this minaret? Downtown?
Across from the hotel.
Oh, here is how I look after the second day of surgery. My muscles have disappeared, and I
the
lost
muscle
about...
disappeared before the surgery. That's what renal failure does. Yeah, let me see this one.
Approximately 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with a kidney disease. After about 9 years, my specialist suggested that he is really not able to help me much more. So I started to inquire about doing a transplant overseas. I had one ray of sunshine that through some family members, it was transmitted to me that there was a gentleman that had this operation in Israel.
When he got the news that there may be a possibility to go out of the country, we just jumped.
And when I contacted this person, he explained to me that the surgery does not take place in Israel.
Then it was Turkey, which I said, okay, Turkey is already, it's not a backward country, it's modern and so on.
He also informed me that there were some problems in Turkey, and the whole operation has had to move to Kosovo.
The Turkey clinic has been closed. We have to go to Kosovo. So whatever we were prepared for, we were not prepared for Kosovo.
Kosovo is Europe's newest country, an orphaned slice of the former Yugoslavia, corroded by corruption and strangled by organized crime. When Raul traveled to Kosovo for his black market kidney transplant, he had no idea he was about to become embroiled in one of the world's most infamous organ trafficking rings, an organization now being investigated by the European Union. Jonathan Rattel is a prosecutor and a veteran of trouble spots like Iraq and Afghanistan. He has now been sent to Kosovo to crack down on organized crime and corruption. The first case to land on his desk is the Medicus case. The charges: trafficking in body parts, organized crime, trafficking in persons, and unlawful medical practice.
Okay, what are the precise allegations that ground the indictment here?
There is a growing network of organ trade throughout the world, and unfortunately, the source for these organs are the indigent, the poor, the vulnerable, and the persons who want this are rich, wealthy Western nations who can pay $100,000 US for a kidney, and they are harvesting these organs. That's the top level allegation of this.
To sell an organ, it's a terrible thing. But on the other hand, maybe it saves your life equally to how it saved my life. We don't know, and I cannot profess to know for what purpose that these people did it. You know, so that's why I can never be, 100% one way and say it's bad and that's it.
In this clinic called Medicus, on the outskirts of Kosovo's capital, Pristina, Raul Fane's life was saved by one of Europe's most wanted men.
One of the significant figures in this case is Dr. Yusuf Sumnez, without a doubt. This individual is a notorious organ trafficker and has engaged in this activity in his own home country in Turkey for a long period of time. He is the surgical expertise in this case.
Dr. Yusuf Sönmez is one of Turkey's most accomplished transplant surgeons and a fugitive from the international police. He performed more than 2,000 operations in Turkey and in dark corners of the former Soviet Empire. He first made headlines when he was caught on hidden camera, allegedly offering a man $8,000 for his kidney.
Ben sana vereceğim. 8.000 sana vereceğim. Tamam onu işte gerek yok alırken. Gel benden alacaksın parayı. Başkasından değil.
His alleged practice of dealing in body parts earned him the nicknames Dr. Vulture and the Turkish Frankenstein. Arrested 6 times in his own country, Sönmez escaped conviction by producing consent forms from his donors, attesting that ultimately no cash ever changed hands.
Hiç para ödenmedi. Bu işin ticaret olduğunu kanıtlayın. Eğer böyle bir şey varsa ortada.
But now, the transplants he performed at the Medicus clinic in Kosovo have him in the legal crosshairs once again.
He had a presence. He could have commanded anybody in the room. And the way he imposed himself, just by his movements, just by his demeanor.
He didn't have time for small talk, although I tried to entertain a few words with him. I said, I read a lot about you. To what he said, yeah, all the beautiful things about me on the internet, and you still came? And I said, yes, we still came because you are the only one.
What really grounds this case is man's inhumanity to man. Anywhere from 10 to 15% of all organ transplants are illegal. This is an exploitation of the human condition that has to stop.
Obviously, I'm biased, and obviously, this particular situation helped me and saved my life. So obviously, I'm selfish, but I don't see it like such a terrible thing, provided that that is done in kind of an honest way.
The Medicus case involves dozens of people across 3 continents. Raul was one of 20 patients who traveled to Kosovo to buy a kidney in 2008. 20 people from Eastern Europe, Turkey, and Russia sold their kidneys. The prosecution claims that Raul's transplant was performed by the surgeon Yusuf Sonmez and aided by an international cast of characters that includes another doctor, a fixer, and an exploited victim who gave up an organ. To track the sale of a black market kidney, the production team sets out to reassemble all the players from Raul's operation, starting with the man at the center of the Medicus case. Amazingly, Dr. Sonmez, a fugitive from justice, wanted by Interpol, has his own website. But does Dr. Frankenstein answer his emails? The Philippines was once a prime destination for foreign patients desperate to buy a kidney. But with the global crackdown on organ trafficking, it's now affluent Filipinos who drive the trade.
Kasi po, nakatanggap kasi ako ng text galing kay doktora dito sa cellphone ko.
Diane gets word that a transplant is imminent. She keeps a roster of potential organ sellers so that surgeons have a choice. Joe Boy has competition. Eddie Boy is a 22-year-old with the same blood type as Joe Boy and an equal ration of poverty and hopelessness.
Minsan, niiwanan ko siya ng 100, pinagkakasya niya sa isang linggo. Yan lang. Wala naman kami mahingi ng tulong, wala rin pamilya. Wala rin siyang tatay, wala rin siyang nanay. Ako rin, wala rin tatay, walang nanay. Kaya kami dalawa na nagtutulungan.
In the Philippines, like everywhere else, each donor must testify before a hospital official that they are not being coerced and that they are motivated strictly by altruism, not financial gain.
Hindi ka ba nila pinersa?
Hindi naman po. Ako nga po yung nag-ano kasi nung nalaman ko na...
To prevent abuse, Philippine law requires that a donor have a relationship with the recipient. This is the loophole that will get Diane's candidates through their interview.
Ganito, Eddie Boy. Amo siya ng nanay ko, gano'n. Yun ang sasabihin mo. Kaya inano ka ng nanay mo na ikaw ang mag-donate. Kaya pumayag ka na rin. Ano yung sasagot mo doon? Kung ano ang tinuturuan nga kita para ganun ang salita mo na.
It takes Eddie Boy a while to catch on, but Diane has too much at stake to let him fail.
Pag tinanong ka, doktor, kung kaano-ano mo ang sasalinan mo.
Amo po ng nanay ko. Kaya idudunit ko po yung bato ko para madugtungan po ang buhay niya at saka makatulong po ako sa kapwa.
Joe Boy is a quicker study.
Kailangan, huwag mong kalilimutan yung sinasabi ko sa'yo na ganun ang sasabihin mo. Ang sasabihin ng nag-interview, nagsisinungaling ka na hindi ka binabayaran.
Kaunting mali mo lang dyan, bagsak ka na.
Bagsak ka na. Kaya nga, huwag mo nang bago-baguhin. Iyon na, basta kung ano ang sinabi ko, iyon na, huwag nang paiba-iba.
Now, for Eddie Boy and Joe Boy, it's just a waiting game. A few days later, there's a call from the hospital.
Sabi ni doktora sa akin po, palitan na lang daw si Joe Boy. Yung gusto nila, yung si Ide. Dahil iyon ang medyo bata pa.
Diane tells Joe Boy the news.
Yung sa akin, hanggang dito lang ako. Dapat inuna muna yung sa akin bago yung kanya. Yung mali.
Kaya ako magpapakuha ng bato dahil kailangan kong mayawan yung pamilya ko sa kahirapan dito. Uwi po ako ng probinsya namin. At doon ko gagawin po yung balak po namin magtayo ng bahay. Tsaka bibili po kami ng sariling lote ng bahay namin. Tsaka kung ko po mag-alaga po kami ng baboy at saka manok.
Ako naiintindihan ko naman kung bakit gagawin ng asawa ko yun. Kung sila hindi nila naiintindihan. Kasi hindi nila napagdadaanan yung hirap. Naiiba sila sa sitwasyon namin. Yun lang, please.
I really think we should look at other alternatives.
Yeah, well.
So, Laura, I appreciate that, you know, in your situation, you don't really feel that you could be a donor, but I obviously have mixed feelings. If she were to suddenly have a change of heart and say, yes,
what an enormous relief it would be for everyone.
I mean, I think it'd be marvelous. On the other hand, I don't blame her at all for, you know, making the decision that she's made.
It's not even a rational decision, really. It's a this is a piece of my body and I'm not going to give it away.
Well, I understand that. Well,
I mean, surgery is scary and things are scary, and I've got lots of rational reasons, but the actual reason is just that it bothers me, the idea.
I know. It would bother me too.
Yeah.
And you damn well know that, you know, we would have done anything for you when you were growing up, and you'll do the same for your kids.
No, I could have told you already that would be, of course that would be different.
Right. Well.
Yeah.
I'm not an idiot. Of course that would be different. You know, I mean, it's my parents. They've done lots of things for me. It seems like I ought to be able to do something for them, and I do things for them. But you know, this is something that my father actually needs, and to feel like it's not something that I'm willing to do. If it were something I couldn't do, I would feel less guilty.
Right.
But it being something that I'm not willing to do, I've made a decision not to help.
I mean, I really only have 3 choices at this point. Okay? I either get a transplant overseas, I get a transplant in this country, or I die.
It feels to me as though going overseas and taking an organ from somebody for money, again, especially because that's something that I wouldn't be comfortable doing.
Yeah, it's using them.
And taking advantage of their poverty, which is something that is, I mean, that's wrong.
Right, agreed. There's no argument, and the fact that other people in this country can't afford to do this kind of thing is unfair.
Sure.
I mean, it's
But life is unfair.
I know, and I know life is unfair, and I know...
You know, rich people get things that poor people don't. That's the way the world works.
That's true.
but
I
it's-
wish we were rich.
Well, whatever, but you know what I mean.
It's the choosing to take advantage of it that's so uncomfortable, you know?
I just don't see that there's a lot of choice.
My family's riddled with kidney disease. My mom's been on a machine for 18 years. There she is. She doesn't look like the same person. I mean, if you ask anybody who knew her 10 years ago and they saw her now, they wouldn't recognize her. The change has been that dramatic. Hi. It's good. She's tired and her body is broken down in many ways. And dialysis has just crippled her. She's only 53.
I didn't park very close. Do you want to park closer?
My brother started dialysis 3 years ago as well. My mom developed bone disease, her hair started falling out. Like, it's just been one thing after another for the past 18 years. I just don't want to see myself go down the same path my mom has, where, you know, you just degenerate, like your body just starts to fall apart after a while.
If my kids could have a transplant, it would be a new beginning. My daughter's been on dialysis about 6 years and my son 3. So if there's a kidney out there, give it to my kids before me. 'Cause I really want them that gift.
I've got this cool technology. It's the latest, you know? See, what I do is I, in, out. So, you know, it's like a faucet.
There's two lines
There's two
there.
lines, basically.
It's in his jugular, and that's what he lives with every day. Like, he can't have a shower. The benefits of having that, like he said, like, you don't have to put needles in your arms every other day.
Well, let's just compare.
You just hook up and you're
You
good.
show them your arm, and then we'll compare. Okay. This is what terrifies me.
You want to see an old pro?
This is 20 years.
Look at this. This is the choice I had, you know? They told me I had a week to live, and this is what I knew would happen to me if they started
I've
sticking
used
me.
this too many times that every once in a while it just bursts.
That's what exploded.
Yeah.
Before Halloween.
At the dinner table.
I've heard of the black market where, you know, people are going to try and source out kidneys from, underdeveloped countries. Hello, everyone. All of you need kidneys but don't have potential donors. If I am right that I have the exact solution for you, yeah, I don't know what to make of stuff like this. The black market idea scares me a little bit. There's people who've come back riddled with infection. So you hear stuff like that and you just think, wow, that's not the route I want to take.
I could definitely see more people saying, I will donate a kidney, and I'm really hard up for cash. They're helping someone, and they might even help them in a way. So the person who's sick is benefiting, and this person is getting compensation that might actually turn their life around as well.
The one guy who wants to donate his kidney is not donating it because it's coming from somewhere deep inside. He's donating it because he's desperate for money. So
I disagree. I think he's doing it knowing that he's helping this guy. Even though it's petty,
If
it
he
may
didn't
seem
need the money-
materialistic, he still doesn't have to do that. You know
but
what I
if
mean?
he didn't need the money, do you think he would still do it?
Maybe not. It sounds like he wouldn't, but
Exactly.
the guy's getting 20 grand, but the
Realistically,
guy's
that's
getting a
what's gonna
kidney.
happen.
You know what I mean? And he knows the
Yeah, and that's
circumstance.
fine, and they're all, everybody's
You know?
happy, but what happens if that 20 grand doesn't work out? What's he gonna do? Try and sell another part of his body?
Well, hopefully not.
If our system is failing us, this is the outcome, right? This is the byproduct.
Well, when something isn't freely available, a black market exists.
In Kosovo, the infamous Medicus clinic is deserted now. Its doctors, donors, patients, and brokers scattered around the world. Getting witnesses back to Kosovo to testify is proving a challenge for Jonathan Rattel.
There's a lot of moving parts right now. There's a lot of different agencies and people involved. It's my opinion that the organized criminal group chose Kosovo for a particular reason. Its claim of sovereignty is recognized by some states and not others. We can be seeking evidence in a foreign country that will not respond to us because they do not recognize Kosovo. That is a massive difficulty.
So far, Rattel has 7 local doctors and clinicians secured for the trial, but Turkey refuses to extradite Dr. Yusuf Sonmez. And there's another key player Rattel wants, the middleman who made the Medicus machine run smoothly. After all, someone had to organize blood tests and tissue matching. Someone had to book flights and take care of logistics. And hundreds of thousands of dollars had to cross oceans and change hands. According to Rattel, Moshe Harel was that someone.
He is the fixer, the person that arranges all of this, the business end of the trafficking conspiracy.
He informed me right from the outset that as soon as they complete the required medical tests, they have so many donors that they can do the operation within 1 week or 2 And he, at a point, told me, well, you know, you were ready, we're waiting for you. And I said, well, what is this, guys? I mean, you have a football team of donors? And I says, well, pretty close to it.
Moshe Harel was arrested in Pristina when the Medicus clinic was raided by the Kosovo police, but was released on bail with a promise to return for the trial. Since then, he has disappeared, except on Facebook. And though he didn't respond to messages, he did post that he is in an open relationship and he likes restaurateurs. But for Raoul Fain, Moshe was the crucial link to a life-saving operation. Even in the black market, in addition to a surgeon, every transplant involves a nephrologist, a kidney doctor who ensures that the recipient is suitable for a transplant and that he's matched with an appropriate donor.
Moshe informed me that there is this doctor by the name of Zaki Shapiro that is quite a well-known nephrologist in Israel. And he kind of jokingly says, go on the internet, you'll find him, he's already famous. And he didn't really specify to me what is he famous for. Dr. Zaki Shapiro had a very important role of doing the matching and checking all the blood tests and making sure that, you know, which is quite probably equal responsibility to the doctor that is doing the surgery.
Jonathan Rattel has named Zaki Shapiro an unindicted co-conspirator in the Medicus case.
Do you have a sense of what this person did?
Yeah, absolutely.
What?
Well, as an unindicted co-conspirator, they're part of the organized criminal group involved in this. And they are at the level or near the level of Somnez and Harel. If that individual is beyond the reach of the prosecutor, the person cannot be indicted.
You're powerless.
The prosecutor can't reach them.
Dr. Shapira was like a father, and he at all time tried to calm both of us.
You feel very assured when somebody makes a trip and takes the time to come and see you and to come to reassure you that the surgery went out okay and everything seems to be in place.
Controversy has shadowed Professor Zaki Shapiro for decades, and he has declined all interviews in the past. But now, he agrees to go on camera for the first time and break his public silence.
האמת שרק לפני כמה ימים, פעם ראשונה פתחתי באינטרנט לראות עליי, ונבלתי, לא ידעתי שכל כך הרבה כתבו עליי. זה לא אכפת לי. לא אכפת לי כל זמן שאני שלם עם עצמי, שאני מציל חיים של אנשים. אני לא יכול להגיד לאדם, אני רופא, זה המקצוע שלי.
Dr. Shapiro is one of Israel's most distinguished transplant surgeons. In the early days, with ambiguous laws and a dire shortage of kidneys, few questions were asked about the source of his donors.
לא בכלל חשבנו שזה משהו לא בסדר שמישהו ישלם בגלל הכליה שהוא קיבל. דרך אגב, אני ראיתי את זה גם בתוך המשפחה, לא רק בין זרים. אנשים רוצים לחיות, ולא יעזור שום דבר. ואם המדינה לא תמצא את הדרך איך לתת להם את החיים, איך למצוא להם את האיברים, אז אנשים ימשיכו לשלם בשביל זה.
When an ethics review board began to question his methods, Shapiro moved some of his business into Eastern Europe and to nearby Turkey, where he found high clinical standards, a large supply of willing kidney sellers, and a brilliant surgeon named Yusuf Sonmez. In 2007, the two physicians were arrested in Istanbul during one of their operations and spent 3 months together in a Turkish prison before the charges against them were dropped.
How many operations do you think you've done?
אני חושב שסך הכל במעל 3,600 השתלות כליה אני מדבר, ואלה שנקראות לא חוקיות, אני לא קורא להם לא חוקיות, כ-850.
So 850 times you traveled to foreign locations to operate.
כן, אבל הרבה פעמים עשינו יותר מניתוח אחד. לא היינו נוסעים למקומות האלה בשביל אחד, היינו עושים 6-7 ביחד.
Operating in clandestine locations posed some unique challenges.
כמובן שהדבר הראשון שהמנתח עשה, הוא הלך למשטרה ושאל מי כאן האחראי ושילם לו כסף כדי שאם יקרה משהו שיודיע לו. נדמה לי שהוא ביצע באותו יום, באותם 24 שעות, 48 שעות, 6 השתלות, זאת אומרת 12 ניתוחים רצופים. ועוד הלך לשתות בירה אחר כך והתרחץ בבריכה. וקיבל טלפון מהמשטרה שיש הלשנה, שמישהו הלשין, שבאים לבדוק. מאחר וזה היה בית חולים אורתופדי, שמנו את כל החולים בגבס. כולם היו בגבס, הם באו לבדוק, ראו רק חולים אורתופדי.
And nothing happened, they were all fine.
לא, שום דבר לא קרה. להוריד את הגבס הייתה בעיה.
Doesn't it bother you that your reputation may have suffered?
כשאני הייתי בבית סוהר בטורקיה, הבן שלי ככה היה מאוד מדוכא. עד שבא אליו הילדים מהכיתה ואמרו, מה אתה? אבא שלך גיבור. אני בטוח שעם אותם האנשים שהם נגד או שהם מלעיזים עליי, אם הם עצמם היו צריכים השתלה, הם לא היו עושים את הכל בשביל להציל את חייהם או את חיי היקרים שלהם, הם היו עושים את זה.
The truth is that that organ came from someone and that person was exploited. They were extremely vulnerable and the harvesting of their organ is an outrageous act.
אין ספק שהתורם הוא בעיה רצינית מאוד. אם היה ניתן שהדבר יהיה רשמי, הרי ברור שהתורם לא ינזק. אם זה לא יהיה שוק שחור שבו ימצאו מישהו, אלא זה חולה, התורם ילך לבית חולים רציני וייבדק מאלף עד תף, אז אין לנו שום סיבה שהוא ינזק. אם לא, אז כמובן שיש כאן אפשרות לסיכונים, אפשרות שלא ישלמו לו מה שהבטיחו לו. יש הרבה אפשרויות, בזה אני מסכים לגמרי עם האנשים שמתנגדים לזה.
Five hours from Manila is a province where the kidney trade has cut a swath through the male population. So many in this region have sold their kidney, they have formed a small support group.
Ako nagpakuha, ang binili ko, tricycle, bahay, washing machine, TV.
Appliance na.
Dito ako. Bulok, pasabungin.
Naibinta naman na lahat. Eh, ikaw naman po. Ikaw naman po.
Ako ay wala, bihad ko sa utang. Pinang babae.
Pinagbisyo.
Kasunod, next. Ikaw ay motor, tindahan, appliances, basta inom.
Ako wala pare, wag mo lang tatanungin, talaga ubus. Asawa lang natin.
Asawa lang natin. Asawa lang natin.
May presyo na ibibigay sa'yo yung doktor na nakalagay doon sa papel na 180,000. Pipirmahan, tapos pagkatapos mong operahan sa kanila ibibigay yon. Ang makukuha mo na ho, hindi na ho 180,000. Mga almost 130,000 na lang. Yung 50 nawawala na ho yun. Kasi meron pa ho mga ibang ahente na binibigyan yung doktor eh.
Sino yung pinagsalinan nyo?
Hindi ko po nakita ma'am, pero alam ko po, Arabo. Arabo siya.
Ang usapan po ay 160, natanggap lang po ay 120.
Pag-usapan po namin yung 130. Pero ang tanggap ko rin naman po ay 130 din.
Masasabi nyo bang pinagsisisihan nyo yung pagbenta nyo ng bato at bakit?
Hindi ako nagsisisi. Ayos lang po sa akin yun. At least nakatulong po ako sa kapwa ko.
Ilang taon ka nung nagbenta ka ng bato?
21 na. 45 na po.
Pero yung edad nyo, ano po ang pinalabas nung...
Bali, pinalabas ko na lang po ng 35. Dinaya ko na lang po sa birth certificate. Para lang makunan ako.
Even in this destitute corner of the Philippines, no one claims to have been drugged, duped, or dragged into the operating room. They are, however, victims of a system that is unregulated and rife with the potential for exploitation.
Para pong ako po yan parang naririndi po sa buhay ko, parang pawala na po yung buhay ko, kaya naisipan ko pong pagbinta po ng bato. Lagi po nakukulong nung araw na yun
Paano kayo nagre-recruit ng mga bagong donor?
May lumalapit pa po. Sa ngayon, dahil sa pangangailangan nga ng pera.
Pera, oh.
Yan, maraming lumalapit ngayon. Kaya nga lang, hindi naman nagtatype O eh. Kailangan talaga type O.
A.
B, A, ganun. Kasi kukunti ng type O rito na ano eh.
Dito sa Lopez eh.
Naubos na.
Naubos na.
Pagka-type po siya, dadalhin na namin pa Maynila. Tapos doon, pagdating doon, medical na siya. Dire-diretso na medical lahat. Tapos diretso na kami ng barracks. Aabutan namin sa barracks. Pag minsan, ang dami. Mga 30 katao. Andun, naghihintay ng match nila para maoperahan.
Mga gato lang kalaki yung barracks namin eh, doon eh. Ito lang buong ito. Sama-sama lang sila doon matulog lahat.
Libre lahat ng pagkain. Pag minsan eh, papainumin ka pa ng manager. Masaya nga araw sa barracks. Kaya hindi mo maisipang ikay matakot na hindi magpakuha kasi masaya nga eh. Maingganyo ka pa lalo. Lalo pagka may taong naoperahan, nadadaan doon, tapos pakikita mo ka ng pera, ganun.
Naiingit na lalo yung iba, gusto mamadali. Kailan kaya maoperahan? Para makakaroon itong halagang pera, para makauwi na ako, na kung ano nang bibilin.
The thrill of a quick payoff extends across villages and through families, like these three brothers. Noli used his windfall to buy a motorized skateboard, the only form of transportation in his village. The fares he charges, mere pennies a ride, sustain his family of 4.
Nagtrabaho ako sa Batangas. Padala-padala, wala rin nangyayari kaya nagkuha na lang ako ng bato. Yun nga, kabahay kami ng ganito. Tsaka yung panghanap buhay. Kusang loob ko lang po yun eh. Ako nagkuha, wala naman akong magandang hanap buhay. Kapos ako sa pag-aaral. Kaya yun na lang ginawa ko.
Hindi naman po ako nahiya kasi laking tulong din sa amin nung nagbenta siya ng bato. Nayari yung bahay namin natapos. Tsaka nung mga anak ako nakatulong din dyan sa bunso.
For all the men, the lure is simple. More cash than they could earn in a year or two of village labor. But Hector is one man for whom it all went wrong. He's been suffering crippling pains for months.
Nung dumating po siya, hindi ko matanggap na nagpaganon na siya. Umiyak po ako nung umiyak sa kanya. Sabi ko, kahit tayo naghihirap, dapat hindi nangyari yan. Hindi mo kailangang mag-donors ng ganyan para makatulong. Sabi po niya, Mama, kaya mo na gusto kong makatulong eh. Yan po sabi niya.
Hector spent the proceeds of his surgery long ago, so the production team pays for an ultrasound to find the source of his chronic pain.
Based on the ultrasound findings, the left kidney has a mild renal disease, and this is a sign of a deteriorating left kidney. There is really a problem. He will be a candidate for dialysis, and he himself will be looking for a donor.
Hector should never have been accepted as a donor. He likely had kidney disease long before he sold his organ on the black market. His remaining kidney is failing quickly. Probably, tragically, so is the one that he donated to a dying stranger. No one knows how many other horror stories could be told in China, in India, all across the developing world. Yet for all its dangers, the lure of using the body as a bank book remains irresistible. It's now been almost 8 years, and Mary Jo still hasn't made it to the top of the list.
I don't know how she does it some days, putting those needles in her arm for 8 hours every other day, and then working and taking care of her family. And, you know, And it's been going on for almost 8 years. It's inconceivable. And it's wearing on us. It's wearing on her, especially. You know, she's growing, she's getting tired. And I feel terrible about it. I'm inspired by her. Like, I used to be irritated because I was, you know, maybe a bit more immature and selfish, but now it's, you know, we've got a kid together and we've got a life that we built, and we got to suck it up.
I was told I was somewhere like halfway up the list, which surprised me a little bit because when I started, they told me 7 or 8 years. Now they're telling me possibly 10 years. So, I don't know.
When you were here last time, we were thinking very strongly about trying to figure out how I could go overseas to get a kidney, because we knew that I didn't have very long and nothing seemed to be happening here. But I said at the time that I wasn't going to give up on alternate paths. I do not believe that very many people recognize that they can do an altruistic donation to some person. There are a couple of websites, in particular matchingdonors.com, that have altruistic donors on them. Matching Donors has caused more than 300 transplants in the last 6 years, and it's always possible that I might wind up being one of them if I find the right person at the right time.
How many people are there in the world that voluntarily want to give up a kidney because somebody needs kidneys? I think the number's pretty small. It doesn't seem like it's in the cards.
Unfortunately, a large number of those potential donors are looking to donate to somebody young with young children whose life they could save and they can be a hero. But I'm not going to badger anybody. I will send one email to somebody and say, would you consider me as a recipient, and explain who I am and what I am and so on. And I don't know why, you know, more people do not respond to me. Part of the problem may be that I come on too strong. I don't know. It's a hit or miss proposition. But anything's worth a try, and all avenues are worth pursuing.
In Turkey, the infamous Dr. Sönmez is still at large. But surprisingly, he does respond to his email with a dinner invitation in Istanbul. No cameras, no crew. The director travels to Turkey to meet the surgeon. She assumed the meeting would be clandestine, but is surprised to find that dinner includes his parents, his wife, and young daughter. The next day, he phones the director and agrees to an interview. Why? Because his mother trusts her.
I think that he has become a scapegoat. There is nobody he killed. Nobody. You see, he's a very good surgeon. Everybody accepts it.
He might look scary from outside, but he's quite soft inside.
I think Yusuf is coming.
No. Yeah, Yusuf is coming. Yeah. Oh, hoş geldiniz efendim.
All over the world, in all kind of TV channels and the newspapers, so many talks about this organized crime, international trafficking and organs, and so what? This is pushed by the media, by the press, in every country, and they are feeding each other. Well, I have read myself with big surprise in many newspapers, Dr. Frankenstein, but never Vulture. Frankenstein, yes, I have read. I guess 1 or 2 times Dr. Mengele I have seen. I'm not against, but I don't agree because I don't see any similarity.
Dr. Yusuf Sönmez, he's a very interesting individual in the sense that he's highly intelligent, sophisticated, and quite worldly. But I think it's quite clear that he is a significant international component to organ trafficking around the world.
From 97 until 2008 in Turkey for 10 years long, I was judged many times. I was accused, let's say around 10 different cases. And each time I was accused with the same points, illegal transplantation, illegal transplantation. But at the end, in all of them, I was acquitted. My criminal record was totally clean. I didn't commit any crime.
Yusuf Sonmez has outflanked the Turkish justice system 6 times. But if he ever leaves his homeland, Jonathan Rattel will be waiting. The Interpol Red Notice, an international arrest warrant, has trapped Dr. Sonmez in Turkey. The moment he leaves the country, he risks getting arrested.
Well, listen, it's written here, wanted.
I would gather it's a little bit annoying.
No.
It's not annoying?
No. Why?
Look, crimes against life and health, people smuggling, trafficking and illegal
You see,
migration.
it's finished.
Dr. Sonmez seems less disturbed about his fate than about his photo.
Psychologically, to put my old pictures, look at these are old pictures from 97. These are not reflecting me. I'm different. I'm not the same person. Maybe it is the time to cancel this red notice.
I just told him, please, Yusuf, we are in trouble, you see. We are very, very sad about you. Please leave becoming a surgeon and working as a surgeon, you see. What he told me, do you know? Are you going to say, to tell me, mother, that I'm going to be a grocer? I cannot do it because it's not my business. I cannot do it. Yes. And so only I can do one thing. I am a doctor.
While Dr. Sonmez blames the media for his notoriety, he recognizes that he has been operating at the margins of the law.
Why did you go to Azerbaijan, to Kosovo?
Yes.
You are begging for trouble.
Okay, no. Let's make it simpler. About Kosovo and Azerbaijan, it's very simple. I'm surgeon. I have got offer, first from Kosovo, to make surgery, for the simple reason to earn money. You know, being human, everybody needs money, and I need to work. And I have got a good offer.
Dr. Sonmez cannot understand why there is any legal question about it, and the morality of what he is doing escapes him. I think that he believes that he is providing a service to extremely desperate individuals.
Anyone who has some brain and some reading capacity, I guess, can read and understand the law. According to this law, the doctor obligation is just to check that the donation is for altruistic reason.
If a donor comes from Moldova or Ukraine...
Is it my problem? It's the ethical committee's problem. It's not my problem. I'm doing my surgery, that's it.
And you have no idea that the donors were getting paid?
No, please. They were signing that there is no money matter. There is no selling. There is no buying, only for altruistic reasons. So my job was over to see these papers, that's all. I was not getting the consent of the people. I need to see the papers.
This Kosovo case, because it touched really all of parts of the world, it affected not just me, but my family. After this case dropped in the newspapers, my uncle and my aunt, they called and they asked, you know that you are living with a criminal, because people do believe what's written in the media. If, for example, in Yusuf's case, if the media said that he is the boss of the mafia, people do believe that one.
It is a case as gruesome as it is shocking. A surgeon and 6 other suspects in Kosovo are accused of running an international organ trafficking ring.
Kosovo has become a haven in the illicit trade of human organs.
At least 7 suspects in Kosovo have been charged with persuading people to sell their organs.
The victims were lured from other countries and had their kidneys stolen.
The gang allegedly preyed on those living in extreme poverty. The indictment says an Ontario man, Ralph Fain, received a kidney from a Russian woman.
The fact that my name was mentioned kind of makes me very uneasy, as if I knowingly participated in this particular scheme, which really, to tell you honestly, if I wouldn't have been part of it and I would just be a regular TV watcher, I would be very offended myself of how people take advantage of other people and mislead them and so on. But how do you counter that? You know, you have to go and say, no, I know that it's, the facts are different.
The medical ethics of this are clear to anybody involved in the profession. And you have to step over that line quite clearly. And the only reason that someone would do that, in my opinion, is absolute, pure and simple greed. That's what motivates us, is the motive for obscene profits.
Your doctors involved, nephrologist and surgeon and all these people. And I think they did it more than just pure money. I mean, everybody works for money. You don't work for nothing. But I don't think that was their primary motive for doing this.
It is suggested I was, by one person, that I am getting for each transplant $100,000. So until today, I have performed more than 2,400. So if I multiply these two, I have an account like $250 million. It's huge money, really huge money. And so I must ask you the question now, am I looking like a person who has $250 million in some way? No, you know, my family and my parents and my life, so, well, we are not poor, but we don't look like $250 million, right?
The economics of the organ trade are a challenge to unravel. The compensation that donors receive for selling their kidney varies widely. The poorer the country, the lower the price. In India, the payoff can be as low as $1,000. In Egypt, it's $2,000. In Turkey, up to $10,000. The cost of the operation might be 10 times higher, but many people get a piece of the action.
What does everybody get? I really have no idea. All I can tell you is there are many hands in the pie, because there are so many people involved, and each one has an important role. I mean, just look at the people that I came in contact with, right? I have a Moshe, I have a surgeon. We are here in a fully staffed clinic with 2 male nurses at all time for us. So, you know, it adds up.
Back in Manila, Eddie Boy's operation is finally scheduled.
Kinakabahan po akong bukas kasi tatanggalan na po ako ng bato.
Pinapangarap ko po para sa anak ko. Balang araw, paglaki niya, makatapos po siya ng pag-aaral. Gusto ko makamit niya kung ano yung gusto niyang marating.
Magdadasal po ako na maayos po yung operasyon.
The next day, Diane accompanies Eddie Boy to the hospital. A few hours after Eddie Boy is admitted, a member of the production team, rigged with a hidden camera and posing as a relative, will meet him in his room. The goal is to identify the recipient and see how much money changes hands. But several hours after leaving Eddie Boy off at the hospital, Diane calls and asks to meet. Surprisingly, she's with Eddie Boy.
Kasi po, tumawag si doktora na postpone yung admit niya kasi nagkaroon ng komplikasyon sa baga.
Ready na nga po ako eh. Nga inaasahan ko na matatanggalan ako ng bato dahil kailangan ko nga eh.
It's an unlikely story. Transplants are rarely canceled at the last minute. With a little investigation, we learn the truth. Uncomfortable with the cameras and the focus on Eddie Boy, Diane replaced him at the last minute with another one of her clients, a man who has just returned home with fresh bandages and what should have been Eddie Boy's cash. No country is immune to the trade in human organs.
My family thought I was nuts. At first, it was like, you shouldn't do this. Why are you doing this? Why are you even thinking about it?
In a suburb of Philadelphia, Jason Chamberlain sold his kidney on the internet.
What are you doing?
What are you doing, honey? I'm gonna go on Craigslist.
You're gonna go on
Craigslist? For what? I'm gonna go on the free section and see if I can find stuff to clean up and resell on Craigslist.
I love you, son. God bless you.
I'm basically doing whatever I can to survive. In the course of doing like Google searches, I came across a gentleman that posted an ad in need of a kidney. I thought it was just somebody playing a game. So I actually replied to it. and I got a reply back. No, I'm dead serious. I'm in desperate need. I asked him what kind of compensation I would receive. He offered me $20,000. So after thinking about, that number, I came to the decision that that would seem fair.
I was like, are you crazy? I'm like, it's a lot involved in it.
I was trying to start a business, so I figured, wait a minute. Okay, maybe I can get something out of this and he can get what he needs. So it's one hand washes the other situation. There was, plenty of trips back and forth to the hospital, pre-testing, lots of pre-testing. His antibodies in his blood was rejecting just about everybody that was being tested. So it was a long shot. It was down to the point where I was the only match out of over 70 people.
Just like Diane's impoverished clients in Manila, Jason was able to bluff his way through a pre-surgery interview.
We never mentioned that it was a Craigslist ad, but I know they had their suspicions. They were just trying to trip me up to make sure that I was doing this on my own free will and I wasn't being, I wasn't selling the kidney. I don't feel exploited, and I don't feel that I exploited the recipient either. I feel that it was just something we both agreed on. I needed to live, I needed to survive, and so did he. So that's why, I'm sitting here a living donor, and he has a kidney that's functional.
The ultimate good for society is saving someone's life. The government encourages me to walk into that hospital right there and say, I want to donate my kidney altruistically. So the act itself is considered a good act. So why not offer people incentives to do the right thing? What's wrong with that? If donating a kidney was considered to be horrific, if cutting into my body to save a stranger was considered to be immoral or horrific, then I would understand the government saying we're not going to allow that. Not for money and not altruistically, but they allow it altruistically. So why not allow it for money?
Robbie Berman is an activist advocating for a government-regulated system to compensate kidney donors.
So this is the script. Basically, you guys are going to be standing across the street, and you're going to be looking at this building as if there's a fire in the building, and there's a 10-year-old boy on the roof that's screaming for help. As soon as the fire starts going, I want everyone to start looking up. It's clear to me that if you want to get a message across, YouTube is the way to go. So I want to make a video that will, in a fun way, get the message across. The kid represents 7,000 Americans that are dying every year.
That's my boy. That's my son.
You turn around and you say, you'll give $1,000 to anyone who will save my son.
For $1,000, I'll risk my life.
The guy in the black leather jacket, he is the poor person who's being exploited. Sorry, I can't let you do it.
Who are you?
My name is Peter Paternalistic. Peter Paternalistic, my alter ego, is the establishment. It's the government. It's the people who think they know better.
Why won't you let me save the boy?
Because their motives are impure. You're doing it for the $1,000.
Well, I was doing it for the money, but also to save his life.
Yes, but to save a life, maybe next week you would take $1,000 to sell your kidney.
My God.
Okay, that was funny. That's good. Let's do that again.
The crux of the Medicus case lies with the exploitation of the victims, who were compelled by desperation to sell a body part.
There is a propaganda machine as far as looking at it from only one viewpoint, that organs are stolen against people's wishes. But I can say that from my experience that the donor seemed quite willingly to do the surgery.
All of the donors have returned to their home countries. They're difficult to locate. We're trying to find these people and have them provide evidence. Many of them may not be cooperative. They may feel ashamed or betrayed or injured.
Raoul Fane's donor holds the key to what really happened at Medicus. Among the documents seized when the Medicus clinic was raided is a grainy photocopy of her passport. The alleged victim of this international organ trafficking ring is a woman named Anna, from a country called Moldova. Raul's donor will be the final link in the anatomy of a black market operation. Moldova, like Kosovo, is a fledgling republic overrun by criminal gangs. Once known for exporting wine, vegetables, and fruit, it's now known for exporting impoverished donors to the global organ trade. Here, in a tiny flat, is the haunting face from the Medicus files. Raul's kidney donor, Anna Ruselenko, is 48 years old and lives alone. Her journey to the Medicus clinic began with an ad in a Russian-language newspaper.
Потом я позвонила по этому номеру, который был указан в газете. Он представился Эдуардом, этот человек. Вот, я сказала, он сказал цену, какую там заплатят мне. Он говорит, что $12 000. Я говорю, ну, мало, конечно, говорю это. Вот он говорит, я говорю, а сколько донор будет платить, реципиент будет платить? Он говорит, $120 000 он платит за операцию. Там надо платить за клинику, врачам, анестезиологам. Ну и с этой суммы идет мне там, в общем, вот такое дело. Значит, мы когда уже вылетали в Косово, в аэропорту в Турции, Эдик показал, что Аня, это будет вот твой реципиент. Вере показал ее. Там был мужчина такой высокий, худощавый, седой. И с ним была женщина с короткой стрижкой, темненькая, в очках.
They were dressed very careful, very appropriate. One had quite a few pieces of jewelry.
Чисто по-человечески жалко. Он такой был несчастный. Он еле передвигался вообще. Он еле шел, жена его держала под руку.
They seemed to be smiling. They didn't appear to be nervous.
Мы так с ним поздоровались. Да, естественно, мы не общались в самолете. Приехали в клинику. Природа там очень красивая, березы, как в России. И приехали в клинику, такая чистенькая, аккуратненькая, очень красивая. Мне так там понравилось. Персонал, вообще чудесный персонал. Кушали мы то, что нам приносили меню и на заказ. Что мы хотели, то мы там и кушали. Там у ребят, ну, медбратья, у них вечером чай пили, сидели, с ними разговаривали, общались. Там немножко на русском они говорили.
I was asked at a time to sign a statement that everything is done quite normally and that nobody has forced anybody into doing any of this.
Бумагу мы подписали, да, что даем свою почку, я отдаю добровольно, безвозмездно. Нет, деньги они нам заплатили прямо в клинике. Прошло 2 дня после операции. Мы на следующий день должны были улетать. Они перед этим, за день до этого, он приехал с чемоданчиком, открыл и при нас тут же в палате отсчитал деньги, дал Вере и дал мне. Хорошо себя чувствую, нормально, ничего не болит, все нормально, шрамик уже не заметен. Никакие не боли. Я очень люблю пиво. И я еще в клинике врача спрашивала, что можно мне будет потом пиво пить или нет, потому что я его очень люблю. Он говорит, не переживай, Аня, все нормально, можешь пить. Я уже пиво употребляю, очень его люблю. И здоровье нормально. Никаких побочных явлений, никаких болей, ничего абсолютно.
And this is the walk that you take every day?
Well,
A month and a half ago, we were looking at options that weren't very good, but I said that I wasn't going to give up, and my wife was pretty negative about matchingdonors.com, and then I locked into Lori. I need a 16-ounce. We spent the whole last month texting each other to the point where I filled up my text box at least 3 times. Okay?
You only need 1 kidney. I got 2, and they're healthy. And so if I can give one to somebody else to live equally happy life, and healthy and That's great.
I just happened to luck into meeting her at the right time in the right place.
I went on to matchingdonors.com, and Walter contacted me the first day. I think I'm just comfortable with him, you know, he says what he has to say, you know, he lays it all out there. It's not candy-coated, and I'm used to that. That's what I'm from. I mean, it's like being at home. People have asked me, you know, why not a younger child or woman or a younger man? I have a hard time with that. The value of his life is nothing less than a 6-year-old or a 4-year-old, or, you know, he's equally as important as the next person.
Lori is giving me a gift, and I love her for it. She is giving me back my life. That is a gift that can never be repaid.
I'm just afraid that when somebody really comes and asks you, are you sure that Walter's the person that you want to donate to, that you'll start to think it over and you'll say, well, maybe not.
As much as this is for Walter, this is really for me too. When I lost a very dear friend, I would have given anything to save her life.
Okay.
And
of course you couldn't.
I didn't have that opportunity. And I'm so sorry. And if I can help one person live his life with his wife and his children and his grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
It's important to me in here.
Well, thank you so much for that.
How's life been on dialysis?
It sucks.
It sucks, huh? Yeah.
How's the transplant list doing?
Part of the problem is that the way things stand now, there are separate lists for each of the regions, and organ donation varies. They're better in some parts of the province than they are in others, and Toronto has lagged behind.
So I could have been on a shorter list all this time.
Had you been referred there, yes.
That's a little heartbreaking to hear.
It is, yeah.
I've just learned that I'm on the longest list in Ontario. So, which is really somewhat discouraging and upsetting because I live here, and had I known, maybe we could have decided to live somewhere else. Like, I don't know if we would have or not. It just, again, it's something I didn't know, I was ignorant to, and, you know, you just wonder when it's gonna happen. So I have no choice but to be positive and deal with things as they come. I do as much as I can, but I would love to feel good. I'm tired. I start early in the morning and I'm done. By 9, 10 o'clock, like, I am spent. And then I have to go shove needles up my arms. So yeah, I would love to get off the machine, I really would. And the idea of doing another 2 years doesn't make me happy.
God, I'm scared.
Don't be. Why?
Just surgery, you know.
Altruistic donors like Laurie Wood are 1 in a million. Walter has won the lottery.
It was really good just to see Walter this morning, and he looked incredible, and that's great, you know? It's a good feeling. You can make that kind of a difference in somebody. You're not gonna make lots of trouble. You be good, behave yourself.
I know I'm gonna make lots of trouble.
No, you're not.
I owe Lori the rest of my life. My life expectancy, as a statistic, just went up.
a lot.
Brought together by fate, Anna Ruselenko and Raoul Fain are now linked in a court of law as well. Jonathan Rattel's indictment of Dr. Sonmez and the rest of the Kosovo transplant network has brought suspicion and detectives into their homes.
В Молдове уже тут дернули наши, полиция наша дернула. Да, меня привезли в полицию, посадили меня за стол, а он напротив сидел, полицейский. Он встал надо мной, вот так на руках, и прямо стал орать на меня.
I had a visit from the RCMP, which informed me that they are acting on behalf of Interpol.
Они говорили, вот, давили на меня тем, что помоги нам, напиши то, что мы хотим узнать, что это нелегально все, потому что они себе денег нахапали, а тебе там копейки заплатили. Я говорю, нет, я ничего писать не буду, это было все добровольно с моей стороны.
They are always surprise-type visits and not finding me home, spreading their business card to all my neighbors and telling them, oh, I'm looking for Mr. Fain, do you know where he is, and so on and so forth. I found this method a little bit disconcerting.
Там, я думала, он что вообще начнет бить меня. У нас может быть и такое, могли бы и закрыть меня.
I had no choice but to give the testimony or I would have faced a jail sentence.
They are circling me, yes. It's like strangulation, right? Even you feel that it's impossible to breathe free. So I know the solution. It's very simple. Who is the surgeon without complication? The one who is not doing surgery. So that's it. This is my solution. If I don't move my finger, it's solved. So I don't do transplantation, and that's finished.
כאשר אני צריך להציל חיים, אני אגיד לו, לא, אני לא מציל אותך בגלל שזה לא חוקי, איך אפשר? אני יכול לעשות את זה כי יש לי את הקשרים המתאימים שאני יכול לשלוח אותם למקומות מתאימים. בגלל שזה לא חוקי אתה צריך למות? מה זה? זה לא ייתכן.
There was a guy in Brooklyn here who got caught 6 months ago being a broker, buying and selling kidneys, and he made money, he became wealthy. But he broke the law and he saved hundreds of lives. I follow the law. I observe the law, and I've let hundreds of people die. Who's moral and who's immoral? I think I'm immoral, and that guy who broke the law, he's more moral. He saved hundreds of lives. So, yeah, I'm working within the system, but I'm getting sick of the system.
Every year, thousands of illicit kidney transplants continue to take place in countries around the world. In all these cases, the recipients are deathly sick, and the donors are poor and desperate. This is the thread that unites donors, doctors, and patients in a web of fortune, fear, and infamy. In Kosovo, a thrust to shut down the global kidney trade has captured 7 local defendants, but the major players are far away and free. In Turkey, Dr. Yusuf Sonmez, a virtuoso labeled a vulture, has relinquished his scalpel. In Israel, Zaki Shapira, an unrepentant pioneer, has quietly retired. In Canada, Raoul lives. In Moldova, Anna survives. And all around the world, the dance of desperation goes on.
This case is the hallmark of a rank exploitation of the human condition. These victims were identified, selected.
I just hope that the donor has benefited from this at least as much as I did, because I benefited a lot.
Нет, абсолютно не жалею, что говорила уже, что народ довольный, что этот человек, что Рауль жив-здоров, что все у него хорошо.
Where's the love song set us free? Too many people down, everything turning the wrong way round. And I don't know what life will be, but if we start dreaming now, Lord knows we never clear the clouds. And you've been so busy lately that you haven't found the time to open up your mind and watch the world spinning gently out of time. Feel the sunshine on your face. It's in a computer now, gone are the future, way out in space. And you've been so busy lately that you haven't found the time to open up your mind and watch the world spinning gently out of time. Time to open up your mind and watch the world spinning gently out of time. Tell me I'm not dreaming.